Good afternoon, everybody. It is Friday, May 17th, 2024. This is a regular meeting of the Commissioners of Rehoboth Beach. We're live in City Hall Commissioners Room, second floor. Thank you all for being here. I'd like to call this meeting to order at exactly 2 o'clock p.m. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, we'll start off with roll call. Commissioner Don Preston.
Here.
Commissioner Tony Sharp.
Here.
Commissioner Ed Stronowski.
Here.
Commissioner Patrick Gossett.
Here.
Commissioner Tim Bennett.
Here.
Commissioner Bunky Markert.
Here.
Mayor Stan Mills. We have the full complement of the mayor and commissioners. Therefore, we have a quorum and are able to formally conduct business today. Would like to also recognize the staff that's here today. We have Judge Renee Bennett. We have Scott Cantalupo, Amanda Pumbo, Mary Ellen Gray. Raise your hand. Our communications expert, Lynn Cohen. Interim, now he reverts back to assistant city manager. Dark audit, Evan Miller. We've got June Embert in the back from the parking department. Henry Matlos, public works supervisor. We have Margaret Carson, executive supervisor. I think I got everybody. And Chief Banks. Oh my goodness! Thank you for being here, Chief. We appreciate that. We would like to thank everybody for being here in person, and those that have been here before know that certain agenda topics we allow public input and feedback, and the process would be for you to raise your hand and come up front when you're waved down and identify yourself, your name, and your relationship to the city. I also like to thank those that are watching virtually. This meeting is being televised live stream. It also is recorded for your viewing pleasure later. Documents that support the content of the agenda items we're talking about, we call them support documents. When they're ready a sufficient time in front of the meeting, are embedded into the agenda. So if you go to www.cityofrehoboth.com, go to the portal on the center of the right page, the lime green box, click on that. It'll take you into our legislative portal that has all our calendars, our meetings, our agendas, and you'll be able to see all the support documents that we are working from today. Lastly, public input. How that works is we do have certain agenda topics that we will be calling on you for feedback, and there is a 3-minute time limit, but we also have citizen comment at the very end of the agenda, and those are for topics that aren't on the agenda. So if you have any extra comments to share with us that are not on the agenda, you save those for the end there. With that, I think we're going to go ahead and start with the swearing in of Code Enforcement Officers Scott Cantalupo and Amanda Pumbo. But first, we have to consider adopting a resolution recognizing the city manager's ability to designate code enforcement officers. Who wants to explain that process?
Mayor, before you do that, you might want to welcome the new city manager to your left.
I have him, I do, and I have him later.
Okay, great. Just didn't want an
all in
oversight.
due order. I'm going to keep everybody anticipating.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mayor. So this is a resolution that recognizes the city manager's ability to designate code enforcement officials. Under the state code, the housing state code and Title 31 of the Delaware State Code, the administrative official in charge of a municipality may designate code officials to enforce the state code. And this resolution is simply recognizing Taylor's ability to do so.
So this is the first step before he can actually swear in the new officers. So with that,
Mayor, I move we
adopt
a resolution recognizing the city manager's ability to designate code enforcement officers.
Second.
We have a motion made by Commissioner Ed Chernowski and seconded by Commissioner Don Preston to adopt a resolution of the Mayor and Commissioners recognizing the authority of the city manager to appoint code officials for the purpose of enforcing the Delaware State Housing Code. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the motion is carried and the resolution is adopted unanimously. Thank you very much. With that, we go to phase 2 of this. Now that we have authorized the city manager's ability to do this, we're going to go to the actual appointment and designation of 2 code officials. Right?
Raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I, and state your full name,
I, Amanda Pombo,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Delaware,
the Constitution of the State of Delaware,
and the Charter of the City of Rehoboth Beach, Delaware.
and the Charter of the City of Rehoboth Beach, Delaware.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of Code Enforcement Officer for the City of Rehoboth Beach
in
in accordance with the City of Rehoboth Beach Charter and ordinances
and ordinances
and the Delaware Code
and the Delaware Code
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations. And I testify they did see every word in that. Thank you. Thank you. I'm here for the next thing. But I'm here for a photo op. Congratulations. Oh, you good? You're dismissed. Vice President Gossett is going to join me for the next item of business here, and that is to proclaim June 2024 as LGBTQ+ Pride Month. I'm very happy to be here. We've got some members of camp and otherwise that are going to join us up here, right, Kim? Yeah, come on up.
Either side of us here would be good.
Hello.
Squeeze in, turn sideways a little bit. Could we, Kim, could you, let's have everybody introduce themselves, your name and what your affiliation is with Rehoboth or Camp Rehoboth. Go ahead.
Casey Gonzalez Cruz, and I am a volunteer with Camp Rehoboth.
Derek Johnson, I'm the financial assistant at Camp Rehoboth.
Eddie Giussino, the pastor at Westminster Presbyterian Church, the little church by the sea.
Leslie Ledegar, Vice President of the Board of Camp Rehoboth.
Kim Lacey, Executive Director, Camp Rehoboth.
Mike DeFlavia, Board Member, Camp Rehoboth.
Carol Bressler, Camp Rehoboth supporter.
Carol Billinghurst, Camp Rehoboth supporter also.
Hope Bella, I work with Camp Rehoboth to create inclusive and accessible spaces for people in our community that have disabilities.
And Maddie Brown, Communications Manager at Camp Rehoboth.
Well, welcome to all of you. Let's get started, huh? Proclamation by the Mayor and Commissioners of Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, declaring June 2024 as LGBTQ plus Pride Month. Whereas our nation was founded upon the declaration that all people are created equal, that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are among the inalienable rights of every person, and that each person shall be accorded equal protection of the law. And whereas everyone should be able to live based on gender identity or sexual orientation without fear of prejudice, discrimination, violence, or hatred. And whereas on June 28th, 1969, patrons of the Stonewall Inn in New York City rose up and resisted police harassment that had become all too common for members of the LGBTQ plus community. And this date is celebrated as the beginning of the LGBTQ plus rights movement in America. And whereas the LGBTQ plus community has made great strides forward, but equality, inclusion, and acceptance have not yet fully been achieved. And whereas one of the guiding principles of the City of Rehoboth Beach is to foster diversity of the residents of and visitors to the city. And whereas Rehoboth Beach is home to a vibrant LGBTQ plus community, which greatly contributes to the social and economic vitality and character of the city. And whereas the City of Rehoboth Beach strives to live up to the meaning of its name, Room for All, and to be a model for the nation on inclusiveness, creating a welcoming and supportive community, and ensuring that our residents and visitors have access to rights afforded all citizens. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and commissioners of the City of Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, do hereby proclaim June 2024 as LGBTQ plus Pride Month in the City of Rehoboth Beach, during which we will fly the Pride flag, and we encourage all residents and visitors to respect and honor the LGBTQ plus community, celebrate and build a culture of inclusiveness and acceptance, commemorate progress toward justice, equality, and full civic recognition for LGBTQ plus persons. Join us in the fights that remain to be won. Proclaim this 17th day of May, 2024, and it's signed by Stan Mills, Mayor, and Patrick Gossett, Vice President. Thank you. Thank you, Kim. Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just to let you know, we did this earlier than we've done in past years because we've normally gone with a later meeting. And this year I wanted to be able to celebrate by putting the gay pride or LGBTQ plus flag out on our flagpole, joining the Delaware and federal flags. And I wanted to be able to do that for the entire month of June. Last year, I think it was only up for 2 or 3 weeks. So we will be, at least some of us will be out there June 1st, 9 a.m. out in the parking lot here to possibly take down the city flag and put up the gay pride flag. So we invite you to come there. Just FYI, we are working on some rainbow crosswalks out there. And I don't know the time frame of them, but I think we have the paint ordered. And so we'll have a ribbon cutting at some point in the near future when we can get that painted out there and realized. So we'll have a much more colorful second block of Baltimore Avenue. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Kim. It's very nice. I'll come out afterwards and say a real problem. Then I'll come see you at camp.
One of the young ladies up here gave me a pen. It's American Sign Language for I love you. And I just happen to know sign language, so that's cool, pretty cool. Let's see. Next item of business is correspondence, and I don't recall receiving any correspondence. With that, we're going to go to approval of the minutes. We have 5 sets of minutes in front of us. There is one set of minutes that goes back to 2021. Counselor, we don't have enough members here to form a quorum to be able to vote on those, but you indicated before that that's acceptable.
That's correct, because there's a requirement under FOIA that minutes must be approved.
So with that, we have the 5 sets of minutes in front of us. Are there any changes to the minutes or corrections?
No, Mayor, but I would ask that you take the January 4th, 2021 minutes separately so that those of us who weren't present, and can't attest to those minutes can abstain.
All right, so we'll be talking about seeking a motion to approve the minutes of May 13th, 2024 executive session and special meetings on April 19th, 2024, May 6th, 2024, and May 13th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ed Chernowski and a second by Commissioner Tony Sharp to approve the 4 sets of minutes I just read. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And those 4 sets of minutes that we made note of are approved. With that, I would take a motion to approve the workshop meeting minutes held on January 4th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ed Chernowski and a second by Commissioner Tony Sharp to approve the workshop minutes held on January 4th, 2021. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any?
And I'd like to be recorded as abstain.
And Commissioner Don Preston has indicated that he abstains.
Ms. Sharp as well.
I abstain.
I abstain as well.
We have 4? Okay. Again, these are from 2021, and some of the members that were present at that meeting are no longer with us. And yet we still have a quorum up here that can vote those in. So with that, the motion does carry, and those minutes are also approved. Thank you very much. With that, now we're at the fun part, Commissioner Sharp. I am so very pleased to welcome Taylor Tedder, our new city manager, to the commissioners' table with us. Taylor officially assumed his new role Wednesday, just 2 days ago, and this is his first Board of Commissioners meeting. As most of you know, Taylor comes to us from Boulder City, Colorado, Nevada, with a decade of experience in local government. And of course, he's jumping right into the hot sand as summer season is upon us. But we are confident that Taylor is up to the challenge, and we look forward to working with him through the season and many more to come. I know that our citizens are eager for an opportunity to meet with and chat with City Manager Tedder. And so the city will host a welcoming reception for Taylor with a date and time in the near future to be announced. So for now, please help me, please help us give a warm welcome to Mr. Taylor Tedder. With that, our next bit of business is the City Solicitor's report. No, we're city manager's report, right? Are you doing it?
So I am
Okay,
going to go
okay.
ahead. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I am excited to have begun my new role this week in Rehoboth Beach, and I do look forward to the opportunities to meet and work with staff, elected and appointed officials, residents, and business owners. I am grateful for your confidence in me, and I'm eager to roll up my sleeves and demonstrate that the city made a strong, sound decision in hiring me as your new city manager. I know that people here are passionate about maintaining Rehoboth Beach's unique status as the nation's summer capital and the hometown charm of the community. So I do look forward to getting to know this community and its stakeholders and to helping create an even more efficient, responsive, well-run local government. And now on to the city manager's report. So I am happy to report that the installation of timber piles at the Beach Patrol construction site has been completed, and structural engineers have approved the configuration of the piles, including location, depth, and number of strikes to depth. The crane used to assist in this effort is currently being disassembled and will be moved off-site Monday. Preparation for foundation construction will be underway next week. Efforts will be made to shrink the size of the construction fence as much as possible, and late Wednesday, Grotto Pizza reported backup on their floor drains, so we are investigating that with Coswell Plumbing, who's on site. Grotto was scheduled to open that location tomorrow, but has subsequently canceled, so we'll keep you posted as we get more information. The temporary restrooms near Grenoble Place have been set up as well. The temporary beach, it's set up next to the temporary Beach Patrol trailer. So Delmarva Power has also had some issues with the transformer that will supply the power. We are coordinating with them so they can make repairs. And as of now, we don't have a date when they will be here. Also, beach mats are not being installed at Virginia and Delaware Avenues this season, as they are the locations by which the Beach Patrol will access the beach via the ATV when necessary. City offices will be closed Monday, May 27th in observance of Memorial Day, and residential waste collection will take place as regularly scheduled on the south side of town. Finally, I'll close on a musical note. The Bandstand Summer Concert Series will offer 3 preseason performances over the Memorial Day holiday weekend. Mike Hines and The Look perform next Friday, and the U.S. Navy band Country Current takes the stage Saturday. And Shot Through the Heart, the Bon Jovi Experience, closes out the weekend Sunday evening. And all concerts are free and begin at 8 p.m. The Rehoboth Beach Bandstand Summer Concert Series officially kicks off the summer season Friday, June 14th, with Love Seed, Mama Jump. And now I'll turn this over to Assistant City Manager Evan Miller to address some comments regarding the budget.
Yeah, thank you, City Manager, and thank you for the opportunity to offer some comments in addition to the City Manager's report. I wanted to come before the Board of Commissioners in a public meeting today just to clarify some misinformation that's out there currently about the city's approved FY25 annual budget. I need to clarify for the record that the city is currently not operating in a deficit. While the draft FY25 annual budget was presented that showed a potential deficit, the draft budget also showed a plan to increase revenue and reduce expenses to balance the budget. This revenue generation and expense reduction plan was introduced since the very first budget meeting that we had with the mayor and commissioners. And again, those support documents are available in those agendas. So again, I need to clarify for the record, because of the information that we have heard over and over again, we are operating under an approved fiscal year balanced budget for FY 2025.
Mayor, may I ask a question before you move on?
Sure.
Evan, is it true that the city is not broke?
That's correct, and I was just about to make some statements regarding that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. So again, we also have received comments that the city is broke, which could not be further from the truth. Our 2024 fiscal year is actually expected to bring a surplus in both our general fund and our enterprise funds. In FY23, we also saw a surplus in both the general and enterprise funds. I also want to make mention that, as you all know, we have presented a draft fund balance policy that was presented in a public meeting. That document is available in previous agendas. And again, discussion will continue on that fund balance policy. And that policy shows that we have $41.5 million in unrestricted fund balance and net position. And what that provides for is for the ability to operate for 6 months, fund capital improvements and debt service, and have money for natural disasters with no revenue coming in. So again, any claims that the city is currently operating in a deficit or that the city is broke is not accurate, it's not factual, could not be further from the truth. So I just wanted to make those statements.
City manager, so Assistant City Manager, is the city broke?
The city is not broke.
Is
no.
the city bankrupt?
No, the city
is the city
not.
broke?
No.
Is the city bankrupt? Is it broke?
No.
I need to hear it 3 times. Sure.
Thank you, Evan. We appreciate that extra explanation.
Mayor, if I may, also, this is a very disturbing fact to me, And I have some comments also that I'd like to share. Recently, there have been comments made in the city, the state legislature, and the media that the city has a $4 million deficit budget and the city is broke. We've heard just recently that's not the case. That statement that was made before the city, the state legislature, and the media, the statement is factually incorrect and false. So I'll tell you the truth. The city does not have a deficit and never did. The city has always operated on a balanced budget, and this year is no different from the past years of this city. The city has an unrestricted fund balance, also known as reserves, of roughly $20 million in the general fund and roughly $12.7 in the water fund and $7.8 million in the wastewater fund, which are available in case of a disaster or natural emergency. In other words, we could operate for 6 months without taking one nickel in revenue, and the city would operate paying all the salaries, paying all of our individual debt, and anything else that comes along for 6 months without one nickel coming into the city. So that proves that we are not broke and we do not have a deficit. A draft FY25 budget was presented to us with a potential deficit. Since that draft 2025 budget was first presented to us in January, there was a revenue generation plan to balance the budget. The reason for this potential 25 draft budget shortfall was a result of increased staffing to provide the current level of city services and benefit expenses, provide our employees with a compensation package that is competitive with the current market, address significant increases in insurance costs, and the fund planned capital improvements. The draft FY25 was presented with a budget deficit and a revenue generation plan so that the commissioners could decide exactly where the revenue would come from to balance the budget, and so that the commissioners had a very clear picture of the implications of the increased expenses and capital projects. This is the same procedure we go through every year to produce a balanced budget, which we always do. We debated, analyzed, discussed, and compromised over 5 special budget meetings in order to ultimately pass a balanced budget for FY25. All public meetings were all live streamed and which were held on January 15th, February 5th, February 16th, March 4th, and March 15th. There was over 15 hours of discussion that took place over those 5 meetings. The commissioners decided not to cut services, but rather to increase the revenue necessarily to continue to provide all the services demanded by our constituents. The commissioners decided to preserve our reserves for emergencies rather than use them to offset a potential shortfall. The budget spreads the revenue increase necessary to provide the services our constituents demand fairly across all groups that uses the city's services, residents, business, and visitors. The commissioners have successfully had a capital improvement plan for many years now, but we have never had a corresponding capital improvement revenue plan. There's a difference. One's spending and one's bringing in revenue. This has been in discussion for many months and perhaps even a few years. The commissioners have committed to working on this now for future budget cycles, and this is one of the top priorities of our new city manager. And again, I just want to stress that these comments that were made in the city and the state legislature and the media are false and factually incorrect. And I hope that my statements will bring the actual facts to the surface here that understand that we are not operating in a deficit and we are not broke. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you very much. With that, we're going to go on to the next item, of which is the street aid expenditures.
Yeah, Mayor, I would move that we approve a street aid expenditure in the amount of $11,494.81 to Delmarva Power.
Do we have a second?
Mayor, I'd like to ask, I don't know if we need a second first, or if I can ask a question, because the question actually needs advice of counsel.
If there's a second, then we can open up discussion, or...
And then we might need to make a friendly amendment.
Second.
So I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ed Chernowski and a second by Commissioner Don Preston to authorize payment to Delmarva Power, check in the amount of $11,494.81. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, thank you. I've mentioned this a couple of times at previous meetings, and this to me is an item that doesn't require our time and attention and can be handled by the very capable staff that we have. Staff has reported, I've asked if that is the case, if we're required under the law to do it this way. We are not. And so my question for you, Alex, is it better to approve this by a vote? That we ask our city manager to pay these bills going forward and to report to us at each meeting that these bills have been paid and in what amount in the natural course of business, and not require us to take a vote? Should we take a vote now to do that?
Thank you, Commissioner. You actually read my mind. That was the subject of my solicitor's update. Because of the May meeting you had, the May workshop meeting you had posed that question. And so, no, you are not required to vote on this topic. You have some flexibility here. Under the charter, subsection G, section 17G of the charter outlines the city manager's role and responsibilities, and the city manager has a duty to keep this commission informed of expenditures. So to the extent you would like to just make municipal street aid expenditures a part of the city manager report, you could certainly do that. For informational purposes, we'll note that your neighbors, Dewey and Lewis, do not vote on this matter. So for purposes of efficiency, you could make it part of the city manager report, but you have some flexibility.
Okay, so we don't need to then vote on it here. We just ask that it be done. Mayor, that's it for me. I don't need to make a friendly amendment.
So you want to rescind, what?
Nope.
We either want to carry through with the vote, or do you want to?
So let's keep going with the vote,
Okay.
and just advise that the new city manager will pay these going forward.
Going forward. That
Yep.
sounds fine. So we have a motion in front of us to authorize payment of $11,494.81. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Don, for doing that. It'll save us a little time on each one.
Mayor, before you leave, are you getting ready to leave city manager's report?
Yes, I was.
Before we do that, I would very much like to keep on our report whether or not this city is broke, whether or not it is bankrupt, for every single meeting in the near future until the inaccurate and bad information has evaporated from our sphere of what we have to take in. So I know you will put it on the agenda, because I will continue to ask at every single meeting, both workshops and regular meetings, are we broke? Are we in any financial situation whatsoever? And I know you'll heed that warning. Thank you very much.
Happy to do that.
Thank you.
Mayor, before you leave the city manager's report, is it appropriate now? I'd like to say something about Evan, to Evan.
As long as it's good.
Yes. Well, I didn't. Coming from me, it would only be good about Evan. So I would just like to say thank you for the work that you've done over the last, I guess it's about 15 months in total, maybe 16 at this point. You have been a good steward of our city, a very calm, thoughtful, diligent, and I could go on, leader. And we appreciate it very much. We look forward to evaluating you properly for the work that you've done. However that's done, the city manager will tell us, but I think we have views. You've done a really nice job, and we really, really appreciate it. So thank you.
Mayor, if I also may add my comments. I first met Evan about 7 years ago when he came to us as an ICMA fellow. ICMA is the International County and City Managers Association. And I still remember the day I met him. And he has just evolved and developed and expanded his knowledge, his base of professionalism, and is just a true asset to our community, and will be so to, you're not leaving us, you know that, by any means. There are golden handcuffs here. But just the development of you as a professional, that you're just an invaluable resource, not only to the staff, but the commissioners and everyone here in the city. And we really appreciate what you do and how you do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the next item of business.
Comments be allowed on this recent discussion of terms like broke?
No, no.
I think you should.
If you want to comment at the citizen comment at the end of the meeting, that's fine, Suzanne. With that, we'll move on to City Solicitor's report.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I do not have an update this month.
All right. The next item of business is Departmental Reports. If you have the agenda in front of you, you'll notice that they all have embedments in the agenda, but I think Lynn Cohen's here to give an extra report as well.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor. And could I have this computer on the screen, please? So I thought this might be a good opportunity to provide a little bit more information about Reach Out Rehoboth than is in the report that I provide each month. So just a quick review of where we are. Why did we undertake Reach Out Rehoboth? There were actually two purposes. One was that we wanted a way to communicate with our community about ongoing city projects, major projects, construction projects, or capital projects, and what the status of those projects would be. So currently on Reach Out Rehoboth, we have 4 project pages: our traffic and parking study, the new beach patrol, HQ and comfort station construction project, the Stormwater Utility Initiative, and the Wilmington-Baltimore Streetscape Initiative. And then there are other pages that offer other information and engagement opportunities under additional projects. You'll find information about some of our annual or smaller projects, like our, not smaller, but the wastewater treatment plant improvements, State Road Pump Station, the annual paving that we do. And then I just wanted to go back to the homepage and show folks some of the information that is available on our project pages. For example, on the Beach Patrol page, we are regularly posting an update about the construction project. You can find it in 2 places, actually, under the construction updates. And I will admit that I put one on today knowing that I was going to be showing you this. And also in the top of the page, I put the most recent construction update. And then on our traffic and parking study page, if you're interested, you can find the documents, the presentations that were made to city commissioners in December and in April. Also on this page, let me find it, you will find a survey that is currently active for the King Charles pilot projects. And that will be open through the season. Right now, we have about 10 responses to that. And then our second goal for creating Reach Out Rehoboth was really to create a pathway for engagement with our stakeholders. We wanted to create a convenient, always available way for all stakeholders to provide input on projects and initiatives. So this page is a way to gather ideas, feedback, suggestions, comments that could potentially shape decisions being made by the city. And how are we doing? We launched in August, on August 25th this year. We utilized what we knew was a hot topic, as well as a direct mail piece and other marketing strategies to really encourage initial interest in registering on our site. Anyone can visit the site, but to engage with it, to provide information, you need to register. So currently, we have 1,890 participants. 1,815 of those are active. That is, they have registered and clicked the activation email and presumably provided some information. Through the questions on our registration process, we know that 764 of our participants are city residents, property owners, and/or business owners. I also wanted to note that in the fall, we conducted another survey related to the parking and traffic study, and we had 665 responses. This was the only way that the survey could be taken, and I was really pleased with the response level to that survey. So I think in terms of registration and the success of our survey participation, I would say that we are doing well. More recently, though, I believe that we've lost some momentum on the page. Maybe it's growing pains. And I think that's mostly related to the engagement aspect of Reach Out Rehoboth. And the reason for that may be partly staff priorities and staff availability. I think it's also partly a lack of understanding of how commissioners would like to move forward with Reach Out Rehoboth. For example, we're still trying to work out how to move forward with the ideas that are submitted through this page. There's the ideas and comments page, and to date, 25 ideas have been submitted. People can love those ideas, click on a heart emoji to love the idea. They can make a comment on the idea. But to move forward with some of these ideas either may require some action or support of staff as well as commissioners. I think there's a lot of untapped potential in this platform, and I've spoken with our customer service manager about how to maintain our momentum, and she's shared a ton of ideas and other sites as examples. One idea that I have for the future for the site could be a survey, using the survey tool to measure shareholder opinion on the offshore wind community benefits proposal, whether they would support that or not. But I wouldn't want to move forward with a survey like that without the support of commissioners. So I am eager to utilize the potential of the site, and I appreciate your patience and your support, and I can answer questions if you have additional.
Thank you, Lynn. I want to make sure I heard you correctly, because we don't have this presentation yet posted, do we?
Which presentation?
The one you're giving?
No,
okay.
We do not.
I think you said 754.
64.
64?
764. Mm-hmm.
Are city residents, property owners, and business owners.
And/or business owners. Some of them are more than one.
So my question is, out of the full universe of individuals that you would love to have signed up for this, what's our goal? What's our numeric goal of where we're going? Or do we have one yet?
I guess, I don't know that we have a goal. I would say that when I think about it, we have more participants than we do year-round residents. Not all of them are residents, however, of the community, and we have about a 50% enrollment rate of our residents, which I would think is a pretty good investment in this tool.
Okay, and I continue to get pushback from individuals who feel like we never corrected from the original survey where you could you could potentially vote more than one time.
Right.
Yes. And they keep telling me that to this day they can continue to do that. Can you dispel another piece of misinformation, or do we have to really check that a little bit deeper?
Well, I can tell you that you cannot take this survey. It is closed. You cannot take the survey about should dogs be allowed on the beach.
Oh, no, I understand
okay.
that.
There was, yes, there was a hiccup with allowing people to take the survey more than once. It was for about a 48-hour period. We were able to sort the data, however, by when people responded to the survey. And no matter how, I did a presentation, I think in October, that showed data from that survey and reported it in multiple ways. The results were always the same. There was a bit of difference in the spectrum, but the results were essentially the same, no matter how we analyze the data.
So we have confidence if we do another survey that we would not have that same hiccup.
Correct.
Correct.
Now we have our toggles on that you must be registered to take a survey.
Okay. And if they feel that currently they're able to communicate with us multiple times, isn't that intentional in the other engagements on the projects?
Right.
You can do that more
Yes,
than
absolutely.
one time.
You can take a survey, you can leave a comment on one project and leave a comment on another project. You can take a survey for this project and a survey for a different project. So yes, you can engage multiple times in multiple ways. I will say the parking and traffic study went without a hiccup that I'm aware of.
It's always interesting. I don't know if any other commissioners have had this same complaint, but when I push back and say, no, that was corrected during, the timing of the original one, I am met with, the tried and true, Commissioner, you don't know what you're talking about, and you are wrong, and I'm able to do this. So,
Well,
it's the
if that's
same.
true, if folks will be in touch with me, I can look into it.
Lynn, so
I'm
how
not
does
aware
it
of that.
stop? How does it stop someone from taking it twice?
Okay, to be honest, if someone wanted to take a survey twice, it is a possibility if they have registered under multiple email addresses.
Okay, so
So
it's looking at per login or sign in.
Right.
It would only let you do it
Registered
once.
participant
It's not
can
looking
only
at the
take it
IP
once.
address or something
It
like
is
that.
not. We talked about doing that possibility, and we were advised against it. Because people travel, people take a survey when they're not home.
Right. Yeah, but if anyone wants to game the system, people can game the system.
Well, the pushback is, I realize that, it's human nature that, folks try to go around things sometimes, but they have communicated to me multiple times that they have lost confidence in it because they feel like the whole thing could be gamed if one wanted to do it. Now, if that's the way people want to spend their time, I give them that, but I just wanted to make sure that to the best of our knowledge and the way we understand it, if you have 12 email addresses, you honestly could be out there 12 times.
Correct.
Okay.
I'd like to pose a question to a member on our panel, Mr. Bennett, who has knowledge of focus groups and marketing surveys and so forth. But what I'm interested in is, in a situation like this where we're posing questions or to attempt to make to derive a survey or to answer a survey question, how are we assured, or how could we be assured that the results we're getting are statistically reliable? And I guess my question is, let's say, for example, that we pose the question, who likes chocolate? And we may get an overwhelming number of people who like chocolate, and it sounds like pretty much everybody likes chocolate, but that may not necessarily elicit a response for the people who don't. And I'm asking in terms of the nature of the question, obviously the way you phrase the question and so forth, but also certain things. I'm speaking more or less like the dog survey. We seem to have elicited responses from people who were very pro-dog, and whether or not the opposing side was as equally represented. So I'm just wondering, is there a way to sort of deal with that statistically, or to be able to sort of gauge the responses in a way that would give us an understanding of the reliability of the survey?
That's far more than we would discuss.
Yeah, really,
here,
right.
but
Well,
no,
I'd
it
like
goes
to
it
give
goes
this-
with what Lynn says about asking the question correctly. And we did have a number. I think we had an equal amount of people that were against dogs on the beach, right? It was pretty
People are very
passionate one
on
way or the
either
other.
All
end.
the way over, okay.
But usually with a survey, you want to get, and again, it depends on populations, but in something like this, you want to have at least 100 that you know are pure to give you some sort of directional. I mean, researchers really just use directionally. There's no definitive answer out of it, but a lot of it's directional. So, but I think the dog one was a lesson because the dog question did elicit a lot of response, but you were able to right away see that people were gaming the system. So I think if we did it again, if we asked the question again, I think you'd get probably a similar result, but far more accurate.
There may be times when you would want a survey to be open or for people to be able to take it multiple times. That is a possibility, but our default is to set it to one-time registration. I will say that despite the concerns about the accuracy of the dog survey, I feel like it really did help us accomplish the goal of getting folks interested in this site at the kickoff.
So Lynn, my takeaway are your comments about you feel that we have lost some momentum and that we've got some untapped potential. And it sounds like something that I think the commissioners have known for some time now, that we need to be giving stronger direction on how to use Reach Out, the things we would like to see, and having a closer relationship with that. So I know that, to me, if we don't have a plan to do this, we're never going to get any more momentum, and we're never going to, fill the untapped potential. So I will continue to bring this up with the commissioners and continue to offer the how we can do this and see if that resonates. Thank you.
Was there a comment that you made or a question about posing another survey on offshore wind?
That would be a possibility of how we could get folks to engage.
I would personally be very opposed to that because the offshore wind question cannot be answered by this commission, and I think we would presenting a false opportunity. It is a federal lease auction, and I just think that you're opening up a opportunity that we have no input on or impact on whatsoever. So I would not support it.
My suggestion was really related to the community benefit agreement, whether people were in support of that or not. And I understand that's why I have not put that question on without asking you.
We got a distinct response when that was presented here in the commissioner's room and also follow-up emails. And again, I would certainly not support that. I think if we're going to do a survey, it is something that we can react to and make a final decision or a directional decision that we could have action upon here within the city.
Anybody else? Again, this is just reporting, supposed to be reporting. Thank you very much, Lynn. Other reports are embedded in the agenda. Alderman Court, Building and Licensing, Police Department.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On Police Department, if you will. Chief, I have read all the statistics that you provided for us in the report, and I'm just curious from your perspective, are you seeing any trends, any anecdotal information that would be helpful for us to know at this point?
Well, good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, General Public. Welcome, and I too would like to welcome my new boss, City Manager, Mr. Tedder. So welcome, and thank you all for being here. I'm somewhat prepared. Last month, you mentioned as Commissioner that you would like to for me to make some comments about where we're at, if we're seeing any trends. So I oversee police, fire, and ambulance over on the police side, so I guess I'll start off with EMS incidents. I do see a 14% increase so far this year in that. I will say the increase of calls, or mainly the trend is with cardiac arrest, CPR calls, and increase of overall overdose type complaints. a lot of that is outside of our jurisdiction, not downtown here. The fire incidents have increased about 12.75% so far this year in 2024. The increase, again, is seeing a lot of it outside of town, motor vehicle accidents, and where the fire department's assisting fire scenes with other fire companies in the general area with our neighboring towns. As far as the police incidents here in town, we're seeing about a 14.5% increase this year. A lot of that is warrants processed, some traffic stops. Some motor vehicle accidents are remaining about the same as last year, but a little higher than we would like to see that. The one thing that we are seeing as far as trends is with juvenile complaints. Our shoplifting complaints are up, graffiti, trespassing in area, and they're all juvenile related for the most part. So we are monitoring that trend along the same lines as seeing that in other beach communities. I guess I'll take this opportunity, if it's okay, just to mention that our seasonal police officers are started today. And we will continue to have a police presence at the farmers market and the bandstand events each week. And I will say we secured funding for the extra patrols to be there through grant funding to pay for that. Let's see, and I think the Chamber of Commerce may speak about this a little bit later, but we're working with the Chamber of Commerce that on the 21st hosting a shoplifting seminar that will be here on the 3rd floor in our training room that Chamber is putting together. And again, otherwise, we're just gearing up for Memorial Day weekend, and we got some things that we're working with Office Highway Safety and going to see a lot more foot patrol and working with the admin staff working on weekends.
So, Mayor, you just said these reports are more informational. So help me with this, that if we're looking at already, and check me, Chief, if I've got this right, that 14.5% increase in town, primarily due to the reasons you just articulated for us, where do we get the opportunity to talk about that if it's not here? Should it be in a workshop, or how do you see it?
It's a fuzzy line sometime, but yes, if it crosses that line and it's going to require substantial conversation among more than one commissioner, I guess.
Well, I guess my patience is gone.
It should be a workshop.
My patience is completely gone with being accused periodically of not knowing what's going on in town. We don't know what's going on in town. So, to me, we need to think about how the commissioners are informed about what's going on in town. Because if I had not asked this question right now for me, I'm not certain I would walk away from this meeting knowing that we've got a 14.5% increase already, and the summer has not even really begun yet. So it's just a personal frustration for me, and the accusation that we don't know what's going on. Sure. So anything that can help that with a fresh set of eyes would be great. Thank you.
If I could just add too, when you're talking 14.5, Rehoboth Beach, I can't say it enough, we have a very safe community.
Yes.
So any little bit of crime pushes that percentage up because we really don't have any type of crime to be concerned with. So we'll make sure I put that out to our citizens and everybody in the room today and watching in the future. So we are very fortunate to have that, but we do monitor these type of events.
And I think that's great because it tells a story and it tells it more precisely when you add that to it. Thank you.
I have a question, if I could, Chief, maybe for the next meeting, if you can't answer now, I don't want to put you on the spot. But a number of our neighboring communities have enforced or are starting curfews for juveniles. Right. And I'm wondering whether that's something that you folks have talked about, or is that something we should discuss further?
I think it is open for discussion. What I will say is I brought this up at the end of the season last year, and I said to the commission I didn't ask for any necessary input, action from each of you, because I wanted to sit down and evaluate it. So I think we'll come back as a police department and make that decision as we continue to see. I don't think we're there yet. We haven't had the big events on the beach. We have isolated incidents, but I don't want to sit there and hold back the mask for a few individuals. So we've seen it in New Jersey, we've seen Ocean City, and in Bethany Beach, a lot of instances, bad characters and all that. We are seeing increase that we are monitoring, but I don't think we're quite there yet. But I assure you, once we won't be so reactive, I won't wait too far to sit there and say it's and be too late on it. So in other words, it may even be a month that I come back and say, yeah, we're going to look at this.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you very much. With that, we'll move on to the next item, which is Board and Commission reports. They are Board of Adjustment and Planning Commission have been busy, and they have their reports embedded in the agenda. Moving on to committee reports, I haven't received any requests for any reports or submittals. The Boardwalk and Beach Committee did meet today. I chaired it. But I would like a little time to write up something about the meeting. And Bunky, did you have anything? Give me your tree infrastructure.
We didn't have a meeting this month.
No, okay.
Okay.
Okay. So with that, we're going to move forward to the next item, which is, yes, ma'am.
If I may, I was hoping to give.
Sure, come on up, Susan. Just your name and identify yourself and.
My name is Susan Stewart. I'm a member of the Planning Commission, and I'm here today to give a report of our last meeting, or actually 2 meetings. We held 2 meetings last week because we had so much so many applications before us. And I'm not going to read it because you can read it, but I think it was Thursday, May 9th, we considered continued a preliminary review of the Bellhaven project that had been before us for concept review, and was moved on to preliminary review. During that time, we saw 7 iterations of site plans, the latest submitted to us in January. I think overall it was a very productive, collaborative relationship, working with the applicant, which had marked changes to their site plan from the beginning when we started up until last Thursday, when we unanimously agreed to move that to a public hearing at our next meeting on June 7th. We'll take that up then. I will note that June 7th is a different day for a Planning Commission meeting. It typically would be held the next Friday, so the public should note that it will be June 7th next time. On Friday, May 10th, we considered a couple partitioning applications. One was 10 Columbia. The Yates family sought to divide it into 2 properties. That application had been before the city and had administrative approval for partitioning, but that expired. It was elderly owners that passed away. It came back to us. We were able to approve that application. Then we moved to 54 Kent Street also for partitioning. We were able to move that as well, approve that partitioning request. And lastly, we considered 3 properties which occupy the blank space, that clear space that intended to go in but was unsuccessful. So 413, 415, and 417 Rehoboth Avenue. This is a mixed-use project with commercial on the bottom, residential on top. And we were able to give final approval of that. And again, that one was had some issues that are not unique to the kind of things we're facing, where we've asked the commission to think about some mixed-use specific regulations which are missing, because these projects that have commercial on the bottom and residential on the top, whether it's single-family residential or a hotel, which is in our code considered residential, we need to have fleshed out mixed-use regulations so we know how to interpret applications. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. With that, we'll move on to the liaison reports. We have Carol Everhart from the Chamber of Commerce. Come ahead, Carol.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, and welcome to the new city manager. We already said we're going to get together, tell him what the chamber does. I believe we have this report embedded, we do, into your packet. Legislatively, there's really three. There's quite a few active bills, but the one that would have the most impact possibly on our area would be the state hospital authority. That bill really takes some of the responsibility from the hospital and puts it under political view. So the hospital has been opposed to that. There has been some movement on that this week. House Bill 168 is the short-term rental. And when we talked before, there was a 3% cap. That has been removed from that bill. So I wanted you to know that. And the homeless bill, that one is still being worked also. As far as the chamber goes, the dining guide is at the printer. It's due back within the next 10 days. We usually get it out before Memorial Day, so we're close. Shredding day. We had a shredding day. They shredded 7,500 pounds of paper, so that was a success. Sidewalk sale was held. The weather wasn't perfect, but it was better than it's been in the past, so it went pretty good. And then the theft prevention seminar that the chief mentioned, that is on May 21st, and that's being held in your training room here at the City Hall, and that is at member request. So the business community is actually receiving a lot of thefts. They're coming in, they're stealing, and we needed someone to advise them. What's the steps to take? How do we handle this? If there's room, I'm going to make sure that the staff is there also, so that they're aware if we get these calls, here's what we've been told to do. As far as the accommodations go, if you look at the year-to-date comparison, so you go to 2019, you know, down to, and then what happened on Wednesday of 2023, Wednesday of 2024. So you see it going from 20,000 to 20, it went up, 20,000 to 26,000 to 25,000. Was that weather? I don't know. Same thing on a Saturday. Saturday in 2019, 35,748 rooms. Saturday of 23, 36,720. And this year, 33,211. Now, I've been asked, why is that happening? The best answer I can get when I ask the accommodations are two things. One is the economy. Okay, things are expensive, and not everybody has the funds to pay what they need to pay. And there's a tremendous number of short-term rentals on the market. So we don't track short-term rentals. If this bill goes through, I may be able to do it, I don't know yet. But that could be having some kind of an impact on the hotels and motels. And then as far as Rehoboth goes, it's all over the board. You can look at that, you know, last year and this year on Wednesday and the different weeks. I can tell you this, it definitely was way up when you looked at 23 and 24 on a Saturday, week 2, went from 14% to 64%, probably weather. Not sure, but probably weather. And also Easter was early this year, keep that in mind, so that had an impact. And I'm just happy that I had the report to give you. Any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Carol, the sidewalk sales, I think, are put on by the chamber, correct?
Correct.
And I recall in the old days, maybe you still do it, you would have a note in there to the vendors that were utilizing the sidewalk that they could not have canopies or tents and everything.
Correct.
And I don't know if that's a city, I think it's a city rule, but you also try to enforce it. And there are plenty of violators out there.
You had
so
some violators,
I don't
okay.
want them to hurt the whole project.
Yes, we do. We send to all of our members downtown, and you're about 86% of the businesses are members of the chamber in downtown. And we make sure they get all the information, the rules, everything. So if someone's breaking the rule, they're either not reading it and listening, or they're not a member and they're not aware. It's a possibility. Perhaps we could put something like that in the paper. That might be helpful. We could do that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
With that, we go to the Historical Society. I see Heidi is here. Your name and your position. Heidi, please.
Sure. let me just open up. Is it possible to get the computer screen up on the screen? Thank you. Hello, I'm Heidi Nastrom Evans, the Executive Director of the Rehoboth Beach Museum, and thank you, Mayor Mills and the commissioners, and welcome to the new city manager. I just wanted to report briefly about what's going on at the museum. Come Memorial Day, we're extending our hours, so we'll be open 7 days a week, so please come by. We are implementing our strategic planning. We had a unanimous vote to move forward with Dana, and we plan to get started on that and finish it and deliver it to you all by September. We are working on a refresh of the Dolly's sign, which has been funded generously by a former Rehoboth Beach lifeguard named Mark Matan. With regards to Mr. Lovett's diorama, we are planning to open his exhibit following Memorial Day weekend, and it will be on view through Labor Day, and we're going to have many lectures and gallery tours with Mr. Lovett, so more than I'd want to list right now, so you can check our website for the schedule of events on rbmuseum.org. And also, I just wanted to let you know with this image that shows the diorama in a museum case with interactive touch screens, we're exploring the possibility of funding and designs to make the diorama a permanent display at the museum. Last weekend, for Mother's Day weekend, we had an ice cream social honoring the royal treat and the Fornwalt family, and that program was designed by our programs manager, Marge LaFond, and it was a great success. We had a silent auction fundraiser. Many people came. We had the back bass drummers. It was a lot of fun. Free ice cream. And then just for the rest of June, in honor of Pride Month, we're having an event on June 6th called Those Who Led the Way, with community and state leaders on Pride activism. So that will be at 5 o'clock on Thursday, June 6th. We're going to be part of a special news story that the Washington, D.C. station News 4 and Rick Yarborough came to Rehoboth and filmed. We're part of that, so we're looking forward to that at the end of June. And then just for those of you with kids looking for things to do, we're going to have, in conjunction with the farmers market, which is right next to the museum, we're going to have a design your own tote bag and learn about a recycling program with our new educator, Christian Jamrazak. And we are partnering with the Lewis Public Arts Committee on Elements in Art, which is a beautiful installation of kinetic art sculptures at the George H.P. Smith Park in Lewis, and we're going to offer the children's programs that go along with that exhibition. And that's the end of my report, so if you have any questions, let me know. Bunky?
Mention the beach ball.
Mention the beach ball? Yes, the beach ball is planned for September 7th, and we're moving ahead with that. Anything else?
I think it's important.
No, I think it's important too.
I mean, just keep driving it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Heidi, do you know at this point if the beach ball will have an online component for the auction?
I believe so. we're just starting to plan it at this point, and it's going to have an auction and all the usual fun things that are usually included in the beach ball. But the Guild has just started planning it, but the date is set for September 7th at Kings Creek Country Club.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
Next liaison is for the Main Street, Ed or?
Yeah, we've got Cindy Lovett and Jerry Philbin here, both board members.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, and also welcome to the new city manager. My name is Jerry Philbin. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Directors for Rehoboth Beach Main Street. With me is Cindy Lovett, who is a member of the board, and also the chair of Rehoboth in Bloom, as well as our design committee. A couple of things to bring to your attention right away. I know Dan reported last month, but there are some things that are beginning to happen this month. We will, in June, begin the planning process for our 2025 work plans, and this is pursuant to what you saw in our strategic plan. This is coupled with the work that we've done, again, also on the strategic plan of implementing 2 new policies that guide the way we prepare the financial statements for planned work so that the board understands what the event is, what its accomplished goal is, and how that's going to be measured, both in terms of the benefit for Main Street as well as for our merchant members, the rest of the community, and the residents. Let's see. We have recently, and this goes to our discussion regarding the city dock, we've recently met with the water taxi and tours to talk about what it is we might work on together to improve the utilization of the city dock. Several ideas came up, some very obvious. If we were able to inform them about events happening in the city, they could plan special trips with the water tour and taxi. But we also explored what else we might do looking forward. Are there ways we can create events specifically that revolve around the water taxi, an evening in Rehoboth, theater, restaurants? This has have to be hooked up also with ground transportation to move people from the west side of the city into the east side of the city. But one of the things that's part of our discussion is ways to use the water taxi and the dock to bring more foot traffic and more commerce to the western part of Rehoboth Ave. Excuse me. Our monthly newsletter continues to do very well with over 35,000 hits. We also have a number of hits on our other social media, and we've been getting comments on those, positive comments. One thing we probably want to spend a little time on here is the fashion show. Went off with quite a bang, and if you didn't see it, there was quite a prominent article about it in the Gazette. We had a number of good comments from not only the fashion merchants who participated in the show, but from other merchants in other business sectors of retail who thought that this was a great idea for bringing people into town and to create an event that was noticeable and in the press. So this was successful. I don't have the financial information on it yet, but it was considered, we consider it to be a very successful event. Upcoming event, it's the Margarita Crawl. Tickets for the 2024 Rehoboth Beach Main Street Margarita Crawl, which is on Saturday, June 8th from 1 to 4, are on sale now at the Main Street office. You can also, you can come in during business hours, Monday through Friday, and also you can call by phone 302-227-2772 to inquire about tickets and to make a purchase via telephone. Just, you know, a word of what we always like to say about this. We strive to keep this a safe event. We understand it's a margarita crawl, but we have been in, Dan Slagle, our executive director, has been in consultation with Chief Banks to make sure this goes off without a hitch. We have 24 participating restaurants. But one thing that we want to emphasize is these are very small servings of a mixed drink. The amount of alcohol in each drink is approximately an eyedropper. So we're not racing people through 24 establishments in the city for the purpose of getting them inebriated. We want them to have a good time, sample the hospitality, and sample the creativity without getting into trouble. And it's our intent to run this as a safe and very fun meeting, event, so that people can see more of the city in a very pleasant atmosphere.
All restaurants are also required to have a non-alcoholic version.
Thank you. Yep, yeah, everyone will have a mocktail equivalent of this, so that if people want that, we can do that. I think that's it for me. Cindy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome, City Manager. So let's see, on May 8th and 9th, we had, the crew was out. We planted almost 1,000 flowers between the gardens and the planters. That was, it was a little crazy, but we got it done. And thanks to the city for helping out. They took away all of the brown bags of pansies that we had to pull out, in some cases beautiful pansies, but that's the way it goes. I also wanted to tell you that the Oldies Dance is on May 28th in 2025, and we have the Funsters this year, which we're very excited about. They actually are as excited as we are because it's going to be their opening event for the season. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And I also wanted to tell you that Main Street now has our entire city presentation that we gave to you folks back in the winter is now on our website. So anybody that would like to take a look, it was recommended by one of our businesses that we do that, and we decided it's a great idea, so they had it up within a week. Let's see, I got a call from Mike Peterman. It was quite interesting to ask if Rehoboth and Bloom would consider taking over the Verrazano Garden, which is on, what is it, Maryland, I think? Maryland, Olive? Olive. Okay, so we had a discussion about it and decided that we are in, and we're going to take a look at the garden. So I met with Janet Point, who's a volunteer, and she had an interesting story to tell me. She walked the boardwalk the one day, and there was a woman in the garden weeding. So she went up to her and she said, you know, and the woman was like, you know, I'm not doing anything wrong. And here she is with Unico, the Italian-American club that's very prominent in town. So they got talking about the project, and she was actually weeding it herself. And we now, Janet is setting up a meeting between Rehoboth and Bloom and Unico to do this project together, to get it cleaned up. We figured out it's going to take one big cleaning, and then once a month, I think we'll get in and maintain it. But what we're doing now is looking to get professional guidance as to what we should take out and what we should leave, because dune plants are different than almost anything else. So we don't want to get in there and do the wrong thing. But I did learn that there's a stone in that garden that came from a castle in Italy. I did not know that, so interesting stuff. So the post office, this is really cool. So I've been keeping Commissioner Gossett in the loop with virtually everything I can. So Rick Perry, he's with Main Street, reached out to Representative Lisa Blount Rochester, and Susie Martin reached out to Senator Carper's office. So it appears that, the way I say, we kicked up enough dust that this thing floated upstate. So Dion Watts, our postmaster, heard from both Senator Carper and Lisa's office. And on April 25th, Susie and I got a call from Dion, the postmaster, that she would like to talk to us. She said that there is, and I'm reading this because I don't want to get it wrong. She said that there is a federal historic engineer from a company in Maine coming to the post office. He was there for a day and a half. He was contracted by the USPS. He loved the building. His job was to inspect the building and make a list of everything that should be done to repair this building. The USPS, I don't know exactly which portion, is managing the project, and they are planning to pay for it. The scope of the work has not yet been approved. However, some exciting items on the list that this gentleman made: fix the roof, repoint the brick, remove the old furnace in the basement, fix the leak, take out the unit from the back of the property, redo the painting of the building, remove the drop ceiling at Dion's request, repaint the flagpole, fix the light fixtures, fix the clogged drain in the basement, and do the ADA compliance. So this, I actually reached out to Dion because Monday we had a design committee meeting, and I wanted to be able to report to the committee. And I said to her, where do things stand? And she said, I am awaiting for a response from our headquarters to see if they accepted the bid from the contractor. The bid should include everything we talked about. So Main Street, we're currently, the design committee is now putting out the word that we're creating a task force. So what this means is we don't have to raise the money to repair the building, which was the large part, the piece that was scaring the daylights out of all of us. So all we need to do right now is we are working on creating the National Historic Registration form to get the building on the list, which is actually through the National Park Service, which I didn't know. So that's interesting. So we're looking for people that might have the skills that we could use to do the research and the writing and all that kind of stuff. So that's actually probably going to go out this weekend on our social media. I think it's like 10 people if we get the right people. So contact the office if anybody is interested. And Dion, our postmaster, is just absolutely ecstatic. She's been trying to get this work done and has gone nowhere, but it's because of our project and kicking this up that this all happened. So she is beyond thrilled. So any questions?
I have a
yes.
So aside from the repairs, are they going to refurb the interior as well?
That's what it sounds like. Everything is on the list. And I was concerned that he was going to be like coming in and painting over the marble or something.
Or the mural.
Yeah, or the mural. So the mural, she didn't mention the mural, but if we have to fundraise to get that redone, we will absolutely do that. But he is a federal historic engineer. So I'm hoping that that means that, he's going to refurbish, not change the building.
Well, congratulations.
Isn't
I
that
think that's
exciting?
great, yes.
Yeah, it was really, really good. So I am keeping Commissioner Gossett in the loop. So if we step over any bounds, let us know. Thank you.
Cindy,
Yes,
at the end of Olive Avenue where the Verrazano Monument is, the garden down
Yes.
there is about 50 feet deep,
Right.
and it's the width
Deep,
of the street.
50 feet. Like, oh,
From the
front to
bo-
back,
from the
front to back.
boardwalk
Whew,
to-
you
from the
scared me.
boardwalk
Okay.
to the street, it's about
Right.
50 feet, and
Right.
then it's the width of the street there.
Right.
And there's a dune garden in there.
Okay.
And then the Verrazano garden is a little segment
Oh.
carved out of there.
Aha.
So are you doing the entirety of the
That was
street
not
end?
clarified by, let me reach out to Mike. I'm not sure who directed Mike to call me, Peterman, but if anybody knows that answer, I don't. I assumed it was the whole thing because it's nothing but weeds now. When it was first set up, it was beautiful grasses, real fine, beautiful grasses with some vinca right around the monument. Now it's nothing but weeds. So, and again, weeds are flowers, and if they belong, and that's why we need guidance, is to know what should go and what should stay. But I don't know who. I don't think Mike asked me that on his own. I'm not sure where that came from. If anybody knows, let me know, because we should get clarification. If it's just I didn't realize it was two separate parts.
Well, if you were willing to do the entirety of it, I hate to have blown it.
Well, that's what we're trying to do, is we're talking about doing the whole thing and get in there and really make it look better than it does.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
So just for
Yes.
clarity, Cindy, this is not to you, I don't think. Who was maintaining that before? Was that part of Spazzato?
That was currently performed under the arborist. Liz Lingo was providing that service.
We talked about that last year, do you remember? With
I'm
Liz.
trying to.
Yeah.
We actually reached out to Liz about 4 years ago to see if we could, in fact, get in there and take over that garden, but she said she liked it the way it is and it was natural. But, I mean, we got thistle plants this high, which, again, are natural, but they're not attractive. So you can have natural and attractive, which is what we would be the goal. Anything
Okay.
else?
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Cindy. With that, we go to Cape Henlopen Senior Center.
I have nothing new from the senior center, Mayor.
Okay. Public Library.
So we have both Lauren here as the librarian and Kay Wheatley. If both of you want to comment, or just Lauren, come right up, please. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. Mr. Tedder, welcome to Rehoboth Beach. Nice to see you guys today. So I mentioned last month we have an adoption fair coming up. That's tomorrow. We have a pet adoption fair coming up tomorrow in our breezeway. Although
weather permitting, we might have to move some of the animals inside. The SPCA said that last I checked, they were planning to bring 5 to 7 dogs and possibly some cats as well. So invite everyone, if you're interested in adding a new member of your family, to come out tomorrow. It's going to be from 11 to 2. We're also getting ready for our summer reading program. We have our kickoff party June 17th. Our children's librarian, Shannon, she's been visiting Love Creek Elementary and has had classes from Rehoboth Beach Elementary coming to visit the library and talk about our summer program and show them like how you use the library and our resources. So that's going really well. We also have a jewelry craft class coming up for adults June 6th. And we're continuing to add books and movies and books on CD to our collection.
The elementary school program, is that next Tuesday?
I believe there are, I know there's some class, we had 2 4th grade classes today, and I know we do have some next week. I don't remember exact dates, but I do think Tuesday is one of them.
Any questions?
Good.
Nope.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Warren.
very much. Appreciate you coming and hanging in there. With that, our next bit of business is, Mike, did you want to say anything on behalf of the fire department? You're not listed here. You know, Chuck used to send us something.
Well, since Chuck's not employed anymore, Warren was going to come, but Warren's under the weather currently. My name is Mike Simpler. I'm president of the Rehoboth Fire Company. We have received the building permit from the city to redo the windows on the complete fire station, hurricane-proof windows. We have delayed that till after the summer season because of the construction they're going to have to do with equipment to get up there to put the windows in. So that'll be done after the season. We did help with the flowers in bloom in the city. We had an engine and a few volunteers come in and help water the plants and all that while they were getting those planted and removed. Also, as Chief Banks reported, we have seen an increase in EMS and fire calls. As Chief said, not as many in the city, but more so in the Dewey, Forgotten Mile area and just west of the city, not so much down in the Angola area. With that in mind, as many of you know, we do have 3 stations, one here in town, one out at on Route 1 across from the Giant, and then one down in the Angola area. With that in mind, as the chief says, we do travel out for fires quite a bit. You'll notice that a fire truck doesn't leave in town. That's one thing Chief Snyder, along with the rest of us in the fire company, feel we have to protect the city. So you might see me, a whole bunch of other guys come in town here, but depending on how bad the fire is, either we'll stay here, the other 2 trucks from the other station or the other trucks from the other station will go to the scene. That way we're protecting the city. Also, if it is bad enough within our district, of course, we're going to go, but we've got neighboring companies on mutual aid that'll come up and cover our station to cover the city. Same goes for the ambulance. We're still trying to keep an ambulance in town. We do have 2 full-time crews on. We just recently took, and by the way, we're not broke. So like the city, we're not broke. But we did just take a pretty good hit because we just took delivery of our new ambulance, which was $453,000. That's $100,000 more than what we paid for our last one in just a year and a half. We're looking at replacing another engine due to age. To order, if we were to order it today, it would be 54 months out before we would receive it. And the estimate is $1.2 million. And that's not a fancy one. I mean, not all the bells and whistles. I mean, stuff is going up and it's going crazy. Our annual fund drive is going out. So the people in the city will start seeing those letters come out. And we're also working on the formula as requested by the city for the fire assessment that we've been working on. We're starting to get it formulated. Warren's been under the weather for about the last month, so it's kind of, because he's more on that, even though we helped do the Henlopen Acres one, you know, he's more the, let's do it politically correct and have it done right so that we come to you guys, we can make it all work. That's pretty much all I have. Welcome. Hope you enjoy yourself. You're in for a treat this summer, I can tell you. I'll be the one to tell you, because we get to see it. Keith won't say it because he's paid, but us as volunteers, we know how busy and crazy it gets in here and how they'll be calling you more than anything. So good luck, and if you ever need us to help you, we're always here to help you guys. Any questions?
I just have one on the fire assessment formula.
Yes, ma'am.
And please pass along to Warren best regards if he needs to get better soon. Do you have any idea when that might come? Just later on in the summer, or have
It'll
you?
probably be near the end of summer.
End of
because
summer.
We've got a lot of stuff on our plates right now at the firehouse. And like any other organization, you've only got a handful of people that really do the executive side, where you've got fire whistle blows, everybody shows up. So it kind of makes it difficult between everybody else running around with the beginning of it. So we're hoping by the end of summer, we'll be able to have something. And another thing, Mayor, we would like to be on the calendar so that we can give you monthly updates, since Chuck will be no longer here, able to send you stuff. And we'll try to keep Chuck out as much as we can, so to make your life easier too. So, but
That'll be fine.
any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
With that, we're going to move on to the sole old business. Discussing possible consideration of making amendments to Chapter 215 restaurants, including but not limited to Section 215-1, terms defined, to change the definition of substantially modify, and Section 215-11, modification of floor plan to allow for city manager to approve minor modifications of a floor plan. This has been in front of us a couple of times. I think this is actually, though, the first time that they've had a draft ordinance in front of us. Evan, do you want to go ahead and explain maybe the genesis of this and how we got to here?
Thank you, Mayor. Included in the agenda are two documents. The first is an updated agenda item report. And that agenda item report is one that I've continued to build upon with each meeting that we have discussed this topic. The background portion of that agenda item report provides summaries as to what the discussion was at the previous meetings, which go back to April 19th. The second support document, which is included in the agenda, is a draft ordinance to amend Chapter 215, Section 1, Section 7, and Section 11. So I'll briefly just talk through that ordinance and some of the proposed changes. Again, a lot of this information has been discussed at previous meetings, but essentially this ordinance will modify the definition of substantial modification. And so this will allow any restaurant seeking a modification to a floor plan, which includes a reduction in the number of seats. They would no longer be required to come to this board during a public hearing for a permit of compliance. Again, that goes back to a December 16th, 2022 meeting in which there was an applicant before the board seeking a reduction in seating. The second more significant change would be one that I had mentioned at our last meeting, and that is a proposed change to Chapter 215-11, which is modification to floor plan. The proposed amendment to Chapter 215 allows the city manager to approve a modified floor plan as long as the applicant is able to prove that the floor plan of the restaurant or dinner theater does not substantially modify the most recent floor plan approved by the city. So again, we want to administratively allow modifications to floor plans, but at the same time, we think it's very important that the city have a record of that modified floor plan, and obviously the applicant, the business, also has record of that approved floor plan. So again, it's just really essentially going back to how the ordinance was originally crafted prior to the change that was made in December 2022. So again, just the city manager is not authorized to approve a substantial modification, but they are authorized to approve a modification to a floor plan. Again, the sort of our explanation as to why we are recommending this change is that it just eliminates the required public hearing and the additional administrative process for seeking a reduction in seating capacity. Saves the applicant a lot of time, saves the staff a lot of time, and certainly saves the commissioners some time. This is, again, the draft ordinance is included within the agenda. I think this is the first time that we've presented an agenda item report with a proposed motion, so there is a proposed motion included in the agenda item report as well, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Evan, thank you very much for your work on this, and I think it's in great shape. my only question for you, and just and maybe look to Solicitor for this, on the draft motion, if you'll notice on line 5253, the last sentence under section 3, subparagraph A, it says this section shall be interpreted to include dining patios and areas dedicated to outdoor dining on public spaces. We don't know who would be interpreting this in the future, but sort of belts and suspenders, should that same last sentence then be added to the new additional paragraph B to confirm it in the sense that, so that, again, that if someone is changing the dedicated outdoor dining on public space or dining patios, that it's not a loophole that they would have to come back if it's a decrease as opposed to an increase.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. That's certainly something we can do. We can add that last sentence of subsection A, 215.11. We can add that also as the last sentence of subsection B. That would be
great,
helpful.
Just a friendly amendment there, and I think it would just be provide clarity for the future.
Sure. And if I could just elaborate on one thing Evan said, just to make sure we're all on the same page here. This would allow certain decreases in seating to forego the municipal level public hearing requirement. It doesn't allow any decrease to forego that public hearing requirement. And the reason we put those guardrails on there is that there are other provisions in the code and in state regulations that could trigger a public hearing. So for example, in 270-19A, there's a requirement that a restaurant must have room for 35 patrons. So to the extent they wanted to remove several tables, that could conflict with that provision. There's also some state regulations. Title IV establishes the Office of the Alcohol Commissioner. They have a requirement that flows from that section. There's a ratio requirement of bar seats to tables. So just making sure we're not offending any of those regulations.
And just for reference, that inclusion or the sentence that references that is lines 23 through 25. I did write that down and meant to make mention of that, but I neglected to do that. So again, the definition of substantially modify would be changed, again, lines 23 through 25, so that a decrease does not constitute a substantial modification as long as it does not cause such action that is contrary to applicable zoning and licensing requirements.
Evan, would if there was no increase or increase, just a modification or configuration of the seating, that would be covered under this?
Correct. So the desire here is really just to cover any permanent modifications. So you'll recall there was a lot of discussion when we were talking about this ordinance a while back, how we really didn't want restaurants who maybe had 2 4-top tables and they had a party of 8 come in. We wanted to allow them to push the tables together, and then once they left, pull the tables back apart without it being in violation of this. If it was a permanent modification, so they wanted to make a permanent 8-top table, again, this would trigger the modification, which would have to first come to the city manager for approval of the floor plan, and then that's when we would check the zoning and licensing requirements to make sure that it conforms.
All right. Make a motion, Patrick, with the changes you mentioned.
You go right ahead.
No, I don't recall exactly how you phrased the
I'd like
the
to propose a
addition.
motion to amend an ordinance to amend Chapter 215 Restaurants by the Municipal Code of the City of Rehoboth Beach, Delaware 2001, Section 215.1, and Sections 215-7 and Sections 215.11 relating to restaurants' permit of compliance public hearings.
Second. Would you add the condition?
With my other additional language, as indicated here, lines 52 and 53, that last sentence, this section shall be interpreted to include dining patios and areas dedicated to outdoor dining and public space. That sentence to be added to conclusion of paragraph B, line 65.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Patrick Gossen, a second by Commissioner Ed Stranowski to adopt an ordinance in front of us to amend Chapter 215 Restaurants of the Municipal Code by amending Section 215-1, terms defined, Section 215-7, applicability Part C, and 215 11 modifications floor plan with the following changes: the insertion of lines 52 to 53, that one sentence indicated there, inserted at the end of the paragraph B. That sound all right? Is there any further discussion before we go to the public? Anything up here? Members of the public like to make a comment one way or another on this proposed amendment? Mike, go ahead. State your name and relationship to the city.
Mike Strange, 4 Stokely, and I'm speaking as a citizen and not a member of the Planning Commission, but we also have something that has a term substantially modify in a totally different context. And I just wanted to comment, just as you're making this decision on this particular one, and as Alex and other comments have been made, there are incredible tentacles that follow from what is a simple phrase. And we have the same difficulty and the challenges that we have to face. And I would just ask that you think about that in terms of the context, that substantially modify is extremely context sensitive. And it shows up in several places in our code, and it's not a universal term or a universal phrase. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Anybody else? Carol?
I just want to thank you for the work you've done on this, and you know the Chamber has supported this. You simplified, and it's consistent, and thank you.
Good deal. Thank you, Carol. Anybody else? If not, we'll bring it back to the commissioners' table here. We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Don Preston?
Aye.
Commissioner Tony Sharp?
Aye.
Commissioner Ed Chernowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Patrick Gossett?
Aye.
Commissioner Tim Bennett?
Aye.
Commissioner Bunky Markert?
Aye.
Mayor Stan Mills, the chair votes aye, and the motion's carried unanimously. Thank you for your hard work on this and the extra effort that went into it. With that, we're going to go to our new business. We only have one item of new business. Discuss establishing a process for requests for a change in zoning designations. If you don't mind, I would just like to preface this, that in the old days, an applicant would, or somebody would write to us, and they would write to the mayor and ask a request for a change in zoning. And then the mayor did whatever he thought was the right way to do it and everything. And when Lawrence Christian came on, we started looking at it as, how can we bring it to the building and licensing department for them maybe to manage that? And so that's kind of, I think, where we are today. Evan, do you want to take over?
Sure.
Gentlemen, before you get into the meat of this, could you just clarify something? This support document was just posted yesterday on the 16th. And I'm curious, before we get into any details or go any further, first of all, it does not have an agenda item report. And I do not understand why that is being ignored, but I'll let you gentlemen deal with it. The other issue is, in the very brief time I spent with this, I was wondering, why was it on a regular meeting agenda as opposed to a workshop? Since I thought that was what workshops were for, but I could be misinformed about that. And the third question I have, just at a very cursory level, has the Planning Commission been involved in any of this? Or do they need to be? Or would they like to be?
And that I don't know. I think they would like to, because the chair, Mike Bryan, contacted me and indicated they would like to have an input on it. I put it on here because I was asked to, because we had such a short meeting, and it made sense to try to put something on to get the conversation started. That's all. Now, admittedly, didn't know when the support document would be here. Now, our typical program is we shoot for 4 days before, but lately we've been going for 7 days before, so maybe this just doesn't fly at this meeting. Anybody else?
I guess also I concur with Commissioner Sharp's comments on the first two, but the two recent aspects of zoning change that we have been approached by from applicants. The Board of Commissioners here has referred both of them directly back to the Planning Commission for reference and recommendations. So I would think, and again, reading this morning, to me, that is not reflected in this document. Right. And I think that should, to me, should be the first step, before it even comes to the Board of Commissioners, that the application, which if we could design a form for that of some sort, should be presented to the city manager and the Building and Licensing Department with the next step is to the Planning Commission for their review and recommendation. They're the ones in this document refers to, the CDP, which is developed, designed, and written by the Planning Commission. So I think they were most knowledgeable of the requirements for a zoning change or the reasons behind a zoning change. Again, I would just ask that policy that we've basically established in the past that seems to be working, that should be the format that we move forward, unless there is a conversation between the Planning Commission and Building and Licensing that there's a better way to do it. But I would ask that we reconsider this. And the other concern I have on this, or just I guess it's lack of information. The topic is outline process for change of zoning designation under certain conditions. I would think that if we are designing a process, that it should match all conditions, and then there should be subtext under that about if it's commercial to residential or residential to commercial, or we have several zoning other aspects. But again, those are things that the Planning Commission are much more understanding and a lot of design for, that to me is where the process should begin. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I had one comment. One of the things that I think would conceivably relate to this would be, and I don't know if we're talking about that or not, but with regard to a change, like a change within a neighborhood or something where there were certain conditions that we would like to establish or reestablish. In particular, when we talked about school view in the past, about possibly changing the zoning to reflect the current deed restrictions that are on the properties there. But under the circumstances, there's no, we don't have any kind of ordinance regarding assembling this, what the makeup of the neighborhood is, and if the neighbors support it and so forth. So I foresee that coming to the fore at some point in the foreseeable future. So I'd like to include that in this discussion. Okay.
So shall we defer this?
Yes, I just don't think we're quite ready, and very little notice. And for me to look at it again, I'm not going to look at it without an agenda item report. So others can do so as they like. But we've talked about this summary for efficiency, I don't know how many times.
All right. Any objections, Evan? Or all right. We'll defer it and take it up again later. We're going to go to commissioner announcements and comments.
I have some.
Commissioner Sharp.
But anybody else?
I had some.
Go ahead, Bunky.
I just had a question about, we made some comments, I think, at a previous meeting talking about our delaying to, when we basically delayed the discussion or proposal for the the city charter changes because of the legislature's schedule and so forth. So it's my understanding that we have, like, towards, at least by the end of the, if we're going to make changes to the charter or proposed revisions to the charter, we're not going to get to that as far as the legislature is concerned until maybe the beginning of 2025. Is that correct? So we have time to basically, deliberate and discuss and make those proposed changes. And I just wanted to know how we're planning on doing that. Are we going to be scheduling meetings with regard to that, or is there any thought or appetite to assemble a task force or something like that in order to get that moving?
Well, as far as I recall, the General Assembly closes in June? June 30th.
Right.
And then when do they reconvene, do you know? January, in January. So we would be looking at our schedule to start at sufficient time before January
Right.
to convene and try to resolve any proposed charter changes.
Right,
So that we could get in early. One thing the General Assembly does not like is waiting to the last minute.
Right, and that was my
So,
concern.
you know, if we had tried to proceed, they would not have been receptive to receiving anything in the month of June.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
just too cramped. So, yeah, it's on our agenda planner.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? You had some?
I do. Agenda item reports, I've already gone on about that. That was the first one on my list, that if we're really serious about some efficiency, that's a very easy thing to adopt. The second one is, could somebody remind me the holistic view of fees and the 5-year revenue generation plan that I'm sick of hearing myself mention that phrase? Is that on anybody's agenda for timing?
Yeah, it's on our agenda planner. Do you remember when?
Yeah, June.
It's in the
June workshop?
June workshop, yes.
The next one is, just in my notes, is I was thinking about 2025, do not ask me why, and I believe, and I could certainly be wrong, that an update to the CDP is needed in 2025. I don't know if I'm right or wrong about that, but I was just curious if the Planning Commission is on top of whatever is due next.
You're referring to I think they call it a 5-year.
Whatever it is.
Every 10 years, a major rewrite. And
Well,
then every 5
reminding
years,
that
a
our
minor.
2020 one took about 2 additional years. So we're kind of in an odd place with the timing here.
Hey, Mary Ellen?
If I could, Mary Ellen Gray, Planning and Development Director. I believe the timing is based on when it was adopted. So it was 2020 when the year is 2020, but I had to double check. Do you guys remember? I don't have it in front of me. 22.
It was
So
adopted in
officially-
22.
So adopted in 22. So I was just looking at this afternoon.
Uh-huh.
I went out of my head. So it's 5 years from when it was adopted. When
So
you have
we
to do an
never
update.
catch up from our own tardiness, is what I'm hearing.
Well, certainly we could look to do an update prior to that. There's nothing to say we don't, but the state statute indicates that it's 5 years from adoption.
I know. Because back in 2018, I kept talking about what is the timeline to finish for the 2021.
Right.
So I've been annoyingly repeating, are we ever going to catch up? The answer apparently is no. We will always be off because it should have been 20. In 2020,
Okay, I see.
2025,
Gotcha.
and we've just let 2 years evaporate. And if that's the way we're going to do it, that's fine. So I just wanted to bring that up again.
Well, are you moving off that topic?
I was, but feel free.
Well, this is to me, it's an important discussion to have, and it's important to understand, for us to understand from the Planning Commission's perspective. Is it still the document that you want us to consider? And the reason I ask that question is we continue to talk about budgets. Budgets have to be built off of other sources. One of those is this, along with the CIP, along with other priorities that we may set. And so at least for me, it's important to understand, is this still a valid document as it sits without any changes?
And these are comments, so we're not going to get into
No,
responding
absolutely,
to
yes,
you.
but
Yeah.
it's important, I think, as we quickly move forward, with our new city manager and talking about priorities, that we understand these things.
I would also like to, or recommend that we actually check the 2020 versus 2022. I remember at length having discussion with former Commissioner Gay, who said that it was retroactive back to 2020. And I could be mistaken, but I think somebody should check on that, because we were concerned about losing the 2 years.
All right, any more comment? You had
I
another
did.
comment?
I had one more, and it is about amended agendas for the commissioners. This agenda was amended 5 times. And I have complained about this before, that we don't have any discipline that you can print out if you wanted to your documents on Wednesday late, and by Thursday, there's a different one. Or possibly by Friday morning, there's a different one. So I just want to comment, as we're looking toward efficiencies and what the public gets to look at and when they get to look at it, I feel I fall on deaf ears. I've said this before, the documents are, in my opinion, are not so much for me, but you can't discount the fact that they're in the public sphere and in the public good. So I guess for me, my last straw was this 5 amended times for today's agenda. So that's just a comment. Do with it as you see fit, or do nothing.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you. With that.
One thing else, I'm sorry, if
go
I could ask for, as part of the city manager update, the next regular meeting, the status, we've sent out grant acceptance letters to the 4 organizations that that applied for and received grants: Historical Society, Main Street, Liberty Library, and the Fire Department. And those were sent out with the conditions set forward. So I'd just like a report back that the first step of the process, the grant process, is for the receiving agencies to be able to sign that letter stating that they accept the conditions of the grants and respond to the city. So if we could just have an update from those 4 organizations that that process, that step has been taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mayor, I have just an observation I'd like to make and a possible suggestion. No, not a possible suggestion, a suggestion. Several of us attended the Rehoboth Beach Homeowners Association meeting, where we heard a very good presentation from Mary Ellen. And then today, a few of us sat in on the Beach and Boardwalk Committee meeting, where we heard a presentation from the Public Works Director that was also quite good. In both instances, it struck me, and me probably, not just me, others, that we were hearing these reports for the first time in sort of not commission meetings. And so in talking with a couple of the commissioners, we wonder if it might not be better to give more weight in the commission meeting agenda to reports from the department heads, maybe not all of them at every meeting, but on a rotating basis, to hear reports from the department heads about what's going on, so that we don't read about these things in the Cape Gazette before we actually know about them as commissioners. And perhaps one way to do this efficiently is to de-emphasize the reports that we get from third parties, like the Chamber of Commerce, like Main Street. No disrespect intended, but we might not need a monthly report verbally given to us by these folks. We can certainly read them. So essentially what the suggestion is maybe we just flip the way we're doing it now and not take the reports from the department heads as read, but rather ask them to tease out what are the 4 or 5 top lines that you think we should know, that the public should know, so that we're keeping ourselves and the public informed. Yeah, I think that's.
Anything else? Review future meeting dates. Next workshop is June 10th, 9 a.m. With that, we go to citizen comments. Suzanne, do you still want to state your name in relationship to the city? You know the routine.
Mayor, I'll just give a 30-second warning ahead of time when you've got
Thank
30
you.
seconds left.
Thank you, Commissioner Sharnowski, thank you. Suzanne Good, 1 Grove Street, welcome to Mr. Tedder. I would like, I actually was not planning to speak today, but because of the fairly lengthy presentation some of you shared with us about almost the connotation and interpretation of the adjective broke, which I know, I think we're going back to the budget discussions this year, and because there were unexpected expenses, including major run-ups in health insurance costs and other expenses, as Commissioner Sharp said, we should have arrived at a more holistic way to decide which taxes and fees get raised. Instead, my opinion is that in a patchwork way, there was a need, with some desperation almost, to get that $4 million balance to be, yes, it is a balanced budget, but it meant there were both taxes and fees were raised. And let me give you one example with the parking permits. They were raised from, I believe, $250 to $325, which is a 30% price hike. You may find that you're selling many fewer of those permits than you expect. We won't have numbers probably until July 1st. So overall revenue may not rise in the way you're hoping. Now, for residents who want fewer people in town, that'll help with crowd control. If fewer people are buying those permits, I don't know, they'll park elsewhere and come in on the bus or whatever. But I think in general, it's been hard for me to watch, especially beginning a couple years ago, and with some of the raising parking revenue. Another citizen from Lake Avenue and I advocated strongly against spending $200,000 to a consultant. Those of us who've looked at the study feel bad because almost everything in that $200,000 study had been discussed prior, some things going back to the 1990s. So we put ourselves another $200,000 in the hole. Some of that $4 million you had to recoup reflects the fact that we spent another $200,000 on a consultancy that a lot of us felt was not necessary. 30 seconds, thank you. So I would just say that I think a lot of residents aren't even aware that in order to cover $1 to $1.5 million per year in stormwater expenses over the next 10 years, so that's like $15 million, there's going to be another tax or an impact fee, you're calling it, on their properties. For a town of about 3,400 parcels to carry over $60 million in debt, that's a lot. So I don't think we should be shocked when people sometimes feel that there hasn't been fiscal prudence in this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Anybody else, citizen comment? Mike, and then, you all right? Sorry, he's in front of you.
Hi, Mike Strange, Forest Oakley. I originally was here with Susan to present the report from the Planning Commission, which Susan did. We didn't know, as you pointed out, Tony, the document that was posted yesterday morning. We had previously printed out our information. We're ready to go, and then I looked at it this morning and was flattened by it. I was shocked and I was concerned. And we immediately got together, and the chair and the vice chair authorized me to say the following on behalf of the Planning Commission. 4 items. The changes to zoning descriptions must be consistent with an adopted CDP. An adopted CDP can be amended, but there is an existing process in the state of Delaware for amending a CDP, which is zoning related. By state statute, the Planning Commission has to be involved in amendments to the CDP, and by virtue of that, a zoning change in zoning. And any process must be implemented by a municipality cannot be contrary to Delaware state law. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I do know how to read. And when I read the statutes and I look at it, that which is proposed in the proposal with regard to should the Planning Commission be invited to participate, the state law requires us to actually execute and participate. and the results are then led back. So it's as a citizen, not as a member of the Planning Commission, the proposal is fatally flawed and structurally invalid. So much for that. The second thing is, as far as the CDP and the timing, when it eventually got published, and are the priorities still valid? You haven't yet acted on the 10 priorities that were identified to go forward. They're still valid, they're still needed. I won't go into the detail, but to your comment, Mr. Preston, yes, they're still valid, they're still needed. And last but not least, with regard when the fire company representative was just here, the Rehoboth Beach Homeowners Association in their newsletter indicated the percentage of donations in dollar value that are contributed to the city, and I was absolutely appalled by the percentage of residents of this city that don't contribute to the fire company. I'm a former firefighter. As a former firefighter, we did it for free as a volunteer firefighter in my community. My community, where I grew up, was much less well-educated and financially far worse off than Rehoboth Beach is. We are in fact, we are the most highly educated community in Sussex County, and I think we're the #1 in terms of the financial ability of our residents. And the ratio of what we contribute to the fire company was disgusting. So in that context, I'm not sure what you can do as commissioners, except perhaps to guilt people that you really need to contribute more to the fire company. And it's a resource that without them, both for the ambulance service and the fire service, we would be in deep, deep trouble. It's an essential service of this community. Thank you, I'm done.
Thank you, Mike.
I'm Kathy Newcomb. I'm with Derrickson Properties LLC on Rehoboth Avenue. I just wanted to follow up to the first woman's comments.
Sorry, I didn't hear your name.
Kathy Newcomb.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And you're from?
Derrickson Properties LLC.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's very frustrating to have things misreported in the news. Last month, though, I asked a couple specific questions at the end of the meeting, and it was like deer in headlights back, I guess because it's a comment section, not an answer section. But I'm going to butcher your name, but Cernowski, when I asked a couple questions last month, you turned to the mayor and said, I would like for there to be an opportunity for the commissioners to portray some information so that we don't get so much criticism. And then what happened? You didn't, and now you have all this criticism. So you can't have it both ways. You can't not inform the public what's going on and then be upset when local media maybe misinforms the public. Specifically, you seem to be going back and forth. For instance, in March, you talked about the unspent funds disappearing. I think, Ms. Sharp, you said something about magic. You also had no idea if there was a surplus or deficit. So March 19th, you had no idea if there was a surplus or deficit. Yet, Mr. Gossix, you just said you sat in 5 budget meetings, 15 hours, that concluded March 15th. So I would think every small business in America knows if they're ahead or if they're behind. I certainly do. I have 2 small businesses. In April, you presented a slide on the Treasury bill account summary. Because interest rates are fantastic for all of us, we're $465,758 above your projected income for that one line item. That would indicate maybe you're going to have a surplus. In March, you strongly opposed even the suggestion from Ms. Sharp of taking funds from the reserves. And there were statements about if you did, you better have a plan to replenish them. Yet by April, you had unanimously decided to take $750,000 from Mr. Tedder's loan, which hopefully you will last 7 years and you will have that forgiven, but that means it's not going to be replenished. In March, you had no fund balance policy, so you said you couldn't touch reserves without a policy. Even though, I will tell you, your charter, your enumeration of powers in your charter, 44 items, lets you clean out someone's gutters, lets you shovel someone's snow, lets you number someone's house, but it's silent on how much money you can loan an employee. And your defense in the newspapers, I think recently, was that you are allowed to make decisions that serve a public purpose. So if you're concerned about people being worried about the finances in the town, I would say that if you listen to the meetings and essentially you have negatively impacted property owners by perhaps initiating a 29 to 40% property tax increase. You've negatively impacted businesses by increasing their license fees, negatively impacted renters by increasing the rental tax, negatively impacted daily visitors or even employees of the town by increased parking fees. No wonder people are worried.
You're at time, Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Anybody else during citizen comment? If not, then we'll adjourn this meeting at exactly 4:15 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you.